Welcome to this video, where we're going to tackle a common issue that many developers face when working with React, Socket, I/O, and the context AP. Have you ever found yourself struggling to update your context state correctly when using the useEffect hook in conjunction with Socket, I/O? If so, you're not alone. This is a crucial topic because it can be frustrating to deal with stale or outdated data in your application. In this video, we'll dive into the reasons behind this issue and provide a clear explanation of how to resolve it. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to use useEffect correctly with Socket, I/O, and the context API to ensure that your context state is always up to date. So let's start by setting the context for our discussion. When working with React, we often use the useEffect hook to handle side effects in our component. This hook allows us to perform actions after rendering a component, which is perfect for handling API calls or socket connections. However, when using socket.tool I/O, things can get a bit more complicated. Socket. I/O is a library that enables real-time communication between clients and servers. It works by establishing a persistent connection between the client and server, allowing data to be pushed from the server to the client in real time. Now, let's say we're building an application that uses Socket I/O to receive updates from the server and update our context state accordingly. We might use the useEffect hook to establish the socket connection and listen for incoming messages. Here's where things can go wrong if we're not careful. Our context state might not be updated correctly when new data arrives from the server. This is because the useEffect hook only runs once after the component has rendered, and it doesn't automatically rerun when the context state changes. To understand why this happens, let's break down what's happening behind the scenes. When we use the useEffect hook, React creates a new effect that runs after rendering the component. This effect is tied to the component's lifecycle, which means it only runs once after the component has been rendered. However, when we update our context state using socket.tool I/O, we're not actually re-rendering the component. Instead, we're updating the state of the context provider, which doesn't trigger a re-render of the component. This is where the issue arises because the useEffect hook only runs once after rendering. It won't be triggered again when our context state changes. This means that our context state might not be updated correctly, leading to stale or outdated data in our application. So, what can we take away from this discussion? Here are the key points. The useEffect hook only runs once after rendering a component. Socket. Pocket. I/O updates don't trigger a re-render of the component. Context state changes don't automatically trigger the useEffect hook to run again. To resolve this issue, we need to find a way to rerun the useEffect hook when our context state changes. One solution is to use the useState hook in conjunction with the useContext hook to create a new state variable that's tied to the context state. We can then use the useEffect hook to listen for changes to this new state variable. We've explored why the useEffect hook might not update our context state correctly when using Socket I/O and the context API. By understanding how React's lifecycle works and how Socket I/O updates are handled, we can create a solution that ensures our context state is always up to date. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like it and subscribe to our channel for more content on React and web development. If you have any questions or need further clarification, please leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.